All right, everybody. Friday, June 6th. We got a great show for you guys today. Welcome back to the Sons of Saturday Hokie Nation. Really thrilled to sit down with a Virginia Tech legend, Bryan Randall. You might know him from his Lane Stadium moments and even hitting the hardwood for the basketball team in Castle. But Bryan Randall really redefined what it meant to be a Hokie in the early 2000s. The 2003 season, he showed a lot of grit through a challenging end of the year, but it was 2004 that he cemented his place in Hokie history, leading Tech to a stunning ACC title the first year in the conference. Hokies were picked to finish near the bottom, and Bryan Randall and the Hokies shocked the nation. They went 10-3, knocking off Miami and claiming that ACC title for the first time. A defining moment proving Tech belonging on the national stage, while also picking up ACC Player of the Year honors along the way. Now, when Bryan graduated, he had school records for career passing yards with just over 6,500, 48 career touchdown passes, and also career total offense with 8,034 yards. He's a Hokie Sports Hall of Famer, Williamsburg native, a winner of the Dudley Award, and now the quarterback's coach at William & Mary, keeping it in state. Bryan Randall's legacy resonates deeply with Hokie Nation. From those clutch plays in Lane to his leadership in the Sugar Bowl, we love his story of resilience, of triumph, and of pride. So we're going to dive into his journey on this pod, especially those 2003 and 2004 seasons, and hear what makes those years so special. So, Coach, we call him Coach Bryan Randall now. Welcome to the Sons of Saturday. It's great to have you.
Oh man, thank you guys for having me on. Man, I'm gonna have to get you to introduce me for a movie or something. Put something in the book. That sounds like a serious highlight. Somebody that did a little something back in the day. So no, I really appreciate that, guys. I'm glad to be here. It's always really fun to go back down memory lane, and the good thing is I can still remember a lot from those times, and they were really good times. So I really appreciate you guys having me on, and yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So, as an all-stater in two sports in high school, what other schools were you considering, and for which sports?
Mhm.
And then why did you ultimately choose Virginia Tech over your other offers?
So I narrowed it down pretty fast. So you're right. I was when I first started looking at schools, I was looking to do the two sport thing. At that time, Ronald Curry from the area had just went to UNC and did the two sport thing. So it was something that was in reach, of doing. And now you really don't see it as much. But at that time, I'm like, oh, he could do it. I can do it too. So I narrowed down my recruiting basically to schools around the East Coast. So my final five were UNC Chapel Hill, Tennessee, UVA, Virginia Tech, and UNC, Tennessee, Virginia Tech, UVA, and there was one more. What was the last school? Well, I can't even remember. They were all around Tennessee, UVA, Virginia Tech, UVA. It'll pop in my head in a minute, but yeah, I was telling these schools that I want to play both sports, and so I went down to Tennessee, and they first thing they did was take me to the defensive back room. So I said, "Oh, okay, well that's kind of writing on the wall. Like my plan is to play quarterback, but I guess if I want to play defensive back, I'll come here." I took a visit to UNC, and at the time, Brad Doherty, UNC basketball coach. I think at that time it was Brad Doherty. And me and my parents, we sat down, we had a meeting with him because I was telling these schools, hey, I want to do both. So the schools I went to let me talk to the basketball coaches as well. So I was sitting down with Coach Doherty, and he was, kind of telling me, what type of team they were going to have. And I mean, this is UNC. I already know, what type of team you're going to have. But it didn't really seem too promising. Of hey, yeah, It felt like I'm gonna meet with you because I know football wise, they really want you. So I'll meet with you. But yeah, I don't know if you're a two sport guy for us. Cool. Okay, that's fine. So Tech, actually, Coach Ricky Stokes was actually coming to my basketball games at the time. And he had actually said that, hey, even if you weren't playing football, we will recruit you for basketball. That was different. from everybody else. So the coach actually had interest in me playing. So, it turned into a win-win because I ended up narrowing it down to Tennessee and Virginia Tech, and I mean the rest is history.
Awesome. Coach, you get to Tech, and this question's from one of our Sons of Saturday teammates, Mike Holmes. He said you had a lot of challenges right away when you get on campus. There's, you come to school. Michael Vick had just left initially. There's word that you kind of wanted to redshirt and learn under him for a year, and then he leaves. As a true freshman, you're thrown in a mix. You're competing, but Grant Knoll wins out. And then later, Marcus Vick is in the mix, and you're even sharing time during some of 2003. So Coach Holmes asks, how are you able to adjust all of these challenges and ultimately overcome them to be so successful? And was there anyone in particular that you leaned on or who guided you through these challenges?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. My plans kind of changed when I first got there. My plan was to redshirt. I don't know why I didn't think so, but my plan was to sit behind Mike. And at that time it's like, who better than sit behind? And but then the guy goes #1 in the draft, and it's like, hey, I get it, I understand. So my mind frame changed then to, I might have a chance to come in and play. But initially it was to go in and sit back a year, learn, and do all these good things, which hindsight 2020, it definitely would have paid dividends to be able to do that, just for the adjustment of coming into the college level. I mean, physically, mentally, it's a different ball game, especially at the quarterback position. So when I got there, that was the plan. Things changed quickly. I ended up running into some arm issues as far as like throwing the ball. It wasn't, I tell guys now, it wasn't like it is now, where you're coming out of high school, you're prepping, you're training, you're throwing, you got 7-on-7, you got individual trainers, and all that's good stuff. I'm not mad for what I did. I mean, I played all sports. I did AAU basketball and all that stuff. But as far as being prepared as a passer just in general, and it's not like we threw the ball, all over the place, but just in general of throwing the ball, my arm wasn't ready. And it wasn't that I didn't feel I was capable of, playing the quarterback position, but it was just the amount of throws. And that was my first time really having arm issues and feel like a pitcher. It just got really sore, and there wasn't no turning back. And it kind of hampered me, for a while. I was getting treatment and everything. And, things start popping up. Hey, is his arm strong enough to play? Can he play quarterback in the offseason? And then I'll end up becoming the backup to Grant Knoll. So now it's who a lot of people were like, hey, this guy should beat out this guy. And kudos to Grant, not taking nothing away from Grant. He did an excellent job. I learned a lot from Grant Knoll, his years in front of me that first year. But, during that time, it was, for me, that was a really tough time, because you go from being All-State, All-American, Parade All-American, #1 player in the state to, expecting it. And I had high expectations for myself, to not being able really to perform like I want to, and, having some people, kind of doubt, what you're able to do. So, you go from here, you start to get a little self-doubt. But you ask me, how I managed to get through all that stuff is really just, basically my faith in God, one, and my family. I never really wanted to doubt my abilities. I know God's given me a lot of abilities, and hard work is one thing that He placed in me. Perseverance, I got it's in me, and it really just made me work harder. It was kind of a humbling experience to set me up, to experience greater things down the road. So, through the whole time, it was tough. Like, some times got tough. Like, I'm not gonna sit and act like, hey, I'm gonna make it through this. It was, a couple of times like, why am I going through this? And like, this is not how I pictured it being, being in the room. Sometimes I remember I was in tears one time talking to my mom, like, this is not it. Like, I don't understand. And I'm just used to just being right and working through things and things happening. And I'm able to, use my ability to get through it and excelling. That was what I was used to. So it was definitely a humbling experience, but it made me stronger. It made my mental a lot stronger, and even to this day, like I carry that experience, with me, going through some of the trials. And I'm sure we'll get to talking about 2003, 2004, where there were a lot of, ups and downs as well. But initially, when I got there, those were some of the initial challenges that I really was facing.
So it was a rocky start. It was a tough start. You feel like you're in a humbling experience, and then we get to 2002, and you win the job as a true sophomore, and that year starts off real hot.
Yes.
8 straight wins.
Yeah.
Finish the season with 10 wins.
Yes.
You beat Nick Saban and LSU. You go into College Station. You win at Texas A&M.
That's right.
And then that Syracuse game. Despite that loss at Syracuse, you hit the big half a 1,000-yard mark. You hit 505 yards and 5 touchdowns in that game. Was anyone really surprised by your success at that point? After how it started, or was this kind of expected by you and by the coaching staff, kind of seeing how things had progressed?
Yeah, so things really progressed really fast from the end of my freshman year, and it started with Coach Gentry and the strength and conditioning program. So, I came in, I was around 205, 208. I played my freshman year. Well, going into that off season, it was like, hey, let's get stronger. Maybe this is what's going to be. The physical thing is what kind of took a toll on me, my first year. Well, let's get stronger. Let's get bigger. And everybody's heard about Coach Gentry's strength and conditioning program, guys coming in and reforming their body. Well, from my true freshman year of coming in 205, by that end of that summer, I was around 222. And, I played at 225. So that was easily by far the strongest I've ever been in my life. I don't think I ever got stronger than I worked that off season. And that's pretty much when I set, at the time, with all the quarterback strength and conditioning records, I think I set every record the ones that I broke was during that sophomore year. I never went higher. And, that year, like, it was a big jump for me. And honestly, that to me was what physically took me to the next level. And then mentally from that first year, things slowed down. It's tough. It's tough as a true freshman coming in and trying to learn and adjust to the speed of the game and, what's going on, the college, the stuff off the field, with the academic stuff. So that was kind of the time for me where things started slowing down. And it was evident. During the spring, I just felt like a different player. Like my confidence was super high. And me and Grant, I knew I was in a battle, with Grant again. And, we get to the end of that, to the spring, and unfortunately Grant goes down with a ACL injury the practice before the spring game. And even doing before that time, I felt like I was on his heels. Like I was starting to feel like I could run this team, like this could be my team. And things happen sometimes, and that was just kind of like my opportunity. And like once again, kudos to Grant, because I told people he opted not to have surgery and end up rehabbing back. Like, so that was a testament to him. And, he started up until the LSU game, and I came in that third series or what it was, I believe, and it wasn't no looking back after that. So that was the beginning. Like, I vividly remember coming in at the LSU game and us beating LSU, and very live atmosphere. And honestly, like when I look back at it, that's one of the games that I remember vividly about coming in, but I a lot of times forget like the prestige that LSU had and who were some of the guys, that they, had on the sideline and, things like that. Cause at that time things were still a blur. It's like you come in the game and I'm like, man, this is LSU. Like this is LSU that you watch on TV. Like, wow. And, that started it. That was the start of my career.
Coach, let's move on to the next season. So fresh off a 10-win season, you're returning starter, into your junior year, and the roster is just loaded with talent. Expectations are high.
Very.
So you steamroll the first 6 games. Just blowouts.
Yeah.
And then we lose 4 of the last 5. Barely escape Philadelphia overtime, 1-point win at Temple when they missed the extra point. I was there. Oof. That was a tough one. And we finished the year 8-5 with that heartbreaking loss in the Insight Bowl. Why did the team fall short of expectations? And more importantly, what did you learn from that year that made you helped you become a better leader, as evidenced by the championship of the next year?
Yeah, that was a very humbling season, very disappointing season. That, I tell people, was probably the most talented team from top to bottom that we had. So our expectations were really high after those first 6 games. I'm looking, I got some Heisman votes, and it was, things were just looking really good. And of course, we play a tough West Virginia team down in Morgantown, and we get knocked off. And even then, it wasn't like that was the end of the season. Like, we still were good. And we go into Miami next game, I believe. Miami was the next game at home. Yep. And that was a 31-7 game. And, I get pulled in that game for Marcus. And Marcus finishes the game. And the next time I get in the game is basically to run out the clock in the game. And that was I still got the press clipping on my wall at home, about how that game ended and how I was going to react, to what happened. Now, that was a pivotal time for me, because I honestly didn't know what the future held, when that started to happen. And it was all happening so fast. So you talk about highs and lows. You go from being, one of the top ranked teams in the country, undefeated, to, in a matter of 2 games, now it's, am I even going to start the next game? Am I the guy? What happens after this? We just had one of the biggest wins, in our history, and everybody's seen it. It's night game, ESPN, and so going into that next game, I just remember I never felt. I was mad as a competitor, but I never felt like any type of animosity towards Marcus, towards my teammates, not even really the coaches. It was more of a confused feeling, like, what's going to happen? Like, what's my future now? Like, what's going to happen moving forward? Like, am I going to play? Like, is this the end? And, we moved on from that game. And like you said, what happened, we ended up splitting time. So the plan was, the next game I start first quarter, he comes in the second quarter no matter what, and then we'll see who's playing better. So that was the game plan for like the next 2 games. I know we did it versus Boston College, we did it versus Pitt, and we lost both of those. And by that point, we're like, hey, like, we should definitely win the Boston College game. Pitt game, I feel like we should have won. So now you got a situation like where in the locker room, it's kind of like guys are mad, but then who's the leader, of the team? And me and Marcus we were still talking, like, through this whole situation, like, it never got to the point where me and Marcus were like at each other. Like, I'm not seeing him in the hallways, like, I don't see you, or, I'm not talking to him, we're not communicating. But the tension, like, around the facilities and the buildings, like, it was pretty high, because there was a lot of confusion from top to bottom. There's a lot of confusion from top to bottom. Like, I think it was a situation where, hey, do we move? Since this is happening, do we move in another direction? Is Marcus our guy in the future, or do we, stick with Bryan? And you could really feel it from game to game. And it was really, it wasn't good. Like, it just wasn't a good situation with all the talent that we had. My parents were mad. My dad was mad. He was ready to come up, talk to Coach Beamer, and everybody was just disappointed, because we could just see, like, the talent that we had and the situation that we had, and it was just falling down the drain like that fast. After talking about being high and going to low. So, by the end of the season, that was I always remember 2003 also, because we lost to UVA. That was, and that was every time I go back and see for years, like, I think like 15 something years. Like, oh yeah, what was the last time, Virginia Tech lost to UVA? Yeah, it was 2003. Yeah, I'll be sitting at home watching every year. I'm sitting at home watching. That was us. That was me. And in that game, I started and I played the whole game, and Marcus played some receiver. And then, like you said, we ended up losing to Cal in the shootout, Aaron Rodgers and Cal, in the bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not a pleasant time, so to speak. But once again, when you talk about going through adversity and pushing through, that was definitely another pivotal moment in my career where there was just a lot of uncertainty, and without God and being able to lean on my faith and family and pushing through and friends, like it's one of those things that can be really discouraging when you're talking about your college career.
Yeah, so you end the year, and as a fan, we could feel it and see it too, like what's going on at that Temple game. I mean, you guys should have steamrolled them, and we're like, wait, we're going to overtime. But like little things like penalties. I remember you ran this beautiful play action and to my end zone and called back on a hold, and you just see the deflation on the field. You could sense it. Yeah. But the next year, 2004, it's like a 180, and you guys come out. And it just surprised everyone. And that's the year, like when I hear the name Bryan Randall, that's the year I think about. And I immediately think about leadership, because that year I thought you were an unbelievable leader on that team. And then you had Darryl Tapp on defense, who basically owned the lunch pail week after week after week. I think he even has his own lunch pail. I think Bud Foster gave it to him, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think you're right.
And so personally, when I think of that team, I see a lot of parallels to the 99 team with like Vic, Michael Vick, and Corey Moore. You got you and Darryl Tapp. So rather than compare the two of you, I'm going to ask you this question. What did you like most about playing with Darryl Tapp? Tell us a little bit about that.
So Tapp was, like you said, Tapp was definitely a leader. Now, when I think about Tapp, we had a bunch of Deep Creek guys on the team. And the thing about Tapp was very quiet and about his business. But the thing about Tapp was one of the hardest workers I had ever seen. Like, you're talking about a guy transforming his body, like getting right to lay it all on the line. I mean, you go in the weight room, you're going to see Tapp throwing up weight. You seeing extra reps, you're going to see Tapp. You looking at the practice, Tapp going to be getting extra, moves in. Like, he was one of those guys where if you're looking to see somebody around the facility, looking at getting those extra reps, spending extra time, that was going to be him. Like, he was definitely a leader by example. And for me, I respect that, because I feel like you got to lead by example first for guys to follow. So when I think about Tapp, man, he definitely was one of a kind. And I mean, his career showed it. I mean, it after Tech, the career he had in the NFL. So it was no surprise, to me. Tapp's not your 6'5", 290 guy, but when you see him out there, Tapp gonna find a way to get in. I don't care how big the offensive lineman is; he's gonna look like he's the stronger guy. And that Tapp was definitely a pivotal and a leader on that defense in that 2004 season.
That was an epic year. Tech was picked to finish near the bottom first year, and then roll, beat Miami in that de facto ACC title game down in the old Orange Bowl. And you go to that Auburn game in the Sugar Bowl, and no one's given Virginia Tech a chance against Auburn. They got Cadillac Williams and Ronnie Brown and Jason Campbell, high-powered offense. But you guys took them to the wire down in New Orleans. What's your favorite behind-the-scenes story from that 2004 season, from that first championship run? Whether it was like a locker room moment or
2004 moment. Okay, so my 2004 moment, and I remember this like it was yesterday. So we lose to USC. We come back and we beat. Who did we beat the second game? I can't remember who we beat, but we start off 1-2, if I remember correctly, and we lost to NC State on that second to give us two losses.
Like 17-16.
Yes, lost on the field goal. Yeah, we lost on the field goal. Woo, that defense.
Like a missed field goal, right? Didn't we? I think we missed the field goal.
We missed the field goal. Yeah, we missed the field goal. We had a drive at the end of the game to have a chance to win it, and we ended up missing the field goal. But that defense was crazy. I think I got sacked like 8 times that game. They had Mario Williams, ended up being the number 1 pick. They just had a really good defense. But so after that game, we're 1-2, and I go into the quarterback room, and we're meeting. And we go into the meeting after that game. And Coach Rogers, my guy, Coach Rogers, he comes up to me. He says, "Bry," he says, "listen." He says, I've looked ahead, and he said, the schedule that we have in front of us, we can run the table. He's like, "Bro, I'm telling you, we can run the table the rest of these games. It's set up that way." And daggone, one by one, we knocked them out one by one. But I vividly remember Coach Rogers, when we were 1-2. Coach Rogers had me in the quarterback room, and he said, "Bri, we can run the table." And it wasn't one of those type of, pet speech like, "Come on, we can do it." Like, this is, trying to hype us up and all that. It was just a talk between me and him. And he said, "Bri," he said, "look at me. I'm telling you." He said, we can run the table. I'm telling you now, we can run the table. Just, we can run the table. And I said, "All right, Coach, we can do it. We can do it." That's vividly that 2-4,000. That's one of the things I really remember. And I tell him that to this day. Every time I talk to him, have some talk. I said, "Coach, I remember you telling me, 04, we can run the table." After we were 1-2. Yeah, so that's definitely what we did. That's what we did.
And that right there, I mean, that was special because after NC State, you go ahead, West Virginia, top 10 West Virginia comes in. They're ranked number 6, get the win, famous blocked field goal, return for a touchdown, going to Winston-Salem the next week. And then Florida A&M comes 62-0. That big Georgia Tech game on the road on Thursday night. I still remember Mike Tirico making the call, the big comeback in Atlanta. The Thursday night game at home, just beat
Maryland
out of Maryland 55-6, and then getting that revenge over Virginia at home as well, and then the de facto Miami game. But Rich, I'm going to bump this question up here. You led some really incredible wins in that tenure. Coach Rogers hyping you up and saying we could run the table, but those Miami wins, those Texas A&M wins, LSU, West Virginia, UVA a few times. Did any of those wins stand out to you at the top, at the very top? And if so, why? What makes it so special?
So the game that stands out the most to me, and it's crazy because, you had a 500-yard day, passing Syracuse, but we lose. So to me, that deflates, anything. The LSU, winning a game like that, coming in, starting the rest of my season, big College Station on the road. But the one game to me is Miami 04 in the Orange Bowl. And the reason that game is because there were so many things riding on it. It was kind of like the culmination of my freshman year, the ups and downs, the 2003 year of the back and forth. Now it's my team. Now we're picked last in the ACC, not last, but at the bottom of the ACC. This is our first year in the ACC. This is my senior year. Basically, what's on the line for me at this point is who's going to be the ACC Player of the Year. Is it going to be me or Brock Berlin? Who's going to a BCS Bowl, which was my goal since I stepped foot on campus, to make it to a BCS Bowl. So there were so many things like riding on this game. I mean, it was almost like you could call it like the Super Bowl of my career at this point, because for me, it was like, okay, you got a chance to really make a staple. And when you win this game, there's like so many things that are like, hey, boom, this is from this is from this. Like, this is now you're here. Like, it's like put the crown, like put a stamp on your career, because not everybody gets that chance. And to be going against the guy who I'm facing to, get that ACC Player of the Year trophy, the guy who, people may say he's better than me. And then a Miami team, the last game in the Orange Bowl. So it was just a lot. Like, it was an emotional it was an emotional, very emotional game. And every time I think back and look at that game and people ask me, and I got the picture on my wall of me throwing the touchdown, like the painting of me throwing the touchdown to Eddie Royal in that game. That game for me is the most memorable game because there was just so much that the story behind the game, you know, it was just so much that game represents, you know, for me. And to be able to win that game, it's like a dream come true. I mean, honestly, it's like the end of a storybook, you know, finish for my, you know, in my college career, the ups and downs, and then we're here, you know, at this point. So
Absolutely was a crowning moment, and
yeah.
one dropped play action pass in the Sugar Bowl from putting that one on the list too. But we won't talk about that one.
Wow, that was
What a great call, but
yeah. That was tough. And you know, that Auburn team went undefeated. But I really felt like, you know, some teams you play, you feel like you're playing a team that's like a dominating team, you know. From the jump of that game, I just felt like it was just like I felt like we were the better team. As a player, like I felt that. And I'm not saying that because, you know, I'm going to, but you know, sometimes you're playing like it's a Miami 01. It's like, hey, we're probably not better than this team, but we got to do what we got to do to beat this team. We're going to have to do some things, like some special things. But going into that game, I really felt like after we stepped on the field and the game got going, I'm like, man, like we're the better team. Like we should beat this team. Like we really should beat this team. So, you know, it didn't happen. You know, it was a great effort, but we came up short. You know, I guess we could say we lost to an undefeated team. You know, kudos to them. I mean, that's hard to do, but I really thought we were the better team.
Yeah. Speaking of that loss, and you know, looking over your career, you didn't have a lot of losses. I mean, I think you are second overall in Tech history as far as wins as starting quarterback. But some of those losses were kind of tough pills to swallow. We mentioned Auburn. We mentioned the 3 overtime game at Syracuse, the walk-off Aaron Rodgers Cal Insight Bowl, USC with that phantom pass interference, and NC State we already talked about. 0-2, I'm down in the south end zone for the first time ever watching us 21-0 over Pitt, and we lose 28-21. Larry Fitzgerald has a second half in the record books, and just plenty of them. Unfortunately, I shouldn't say plenty. The losses were tough. They were on a lot of losses, but they were tough. So is there one that you really wish you had back, and why?
Well, I will say that all the West Virginia losses, they hurt my heart. Like those were, I don't know. West Virginia had some type of kryptonite on me because I know they just love to see me come. I feel like every time I play, they were like, "Yeah, we got his number." We go like the year, you know, in 03, 03. I threw something to King, the guy King, and then we were home in 02. And in 02, I threw the interception trying to throw a pass in the back of the end zone. And it was just kind of like I couldn't get over the hump. So when we got him in 04, it was like, thank you. Thank you for letting me beat them my senior year, you know. And it meant something, you know, at that. I mean, it was a game that really meant something. But the West Virginia losses for me were really tough because they always came at a time where either we were undefeated or – you know, it was like a pivotal time, you know, in the season. Like we beat them and then we're going to keep rolling. But here we go again. West Virginia got my number. So, yeah, West Virginia, I always tell guys, don't even talk about West Virginia. Yeah, they had my number. So those West Virginia losses for me was the ones that really stick out of my mind. And I honestly, I believe it's because I know I didn't play really well. Like I felt like my play was not good enough to help us win.
That 0-2 game, you started out undefeated, lost that Pitt game, went up to Syracuse, lost 3 overtimes, then come back on a Wednesday night, which is the weirdest game. Yeah. West Virginia, 21-18, like 4 straight 1-yard goal line runs that we couldn't get in the end zone. I hear you on the pain.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, when I hear West Virginia, I don't. It's funny because I don't even think about 2004 when I hear West Virginia. I always think about 02 and 03. Every time somebody say West Virginia.
Yeah.
The losses always hurt more,
They
but
do.
importantly, you did go out on top over the Mountaineers in 04, and you did play with some incredible Hokies over the years.
Yes.
Kevin Jones, Lee Suggs,
Yes.
Wilford, Jeff Kings, James Anderson, Daryl Tapp, D. Hall, Vinny Fuller, Willie Pyle, Jimmy Williams,
Yep.
Eddie Royal, David Klein. We could keep going and keep going and keep going. But
yeah,
which of your teammates, if you wanted to pick one, which teammate were you most thankful that they were on your team and your sideline and not as an opponent? Who would you not want to play against?
Probably one of the biggest game changers, I would say, would be D. Hall. D. Hall was different. Like we came in together, and as far as like athletes, I haven't seen many guys like through my time of playing sports, high school, college, NFL, many guys that can match up athletically from the standpoint of being fast, quick, can catch, can return, can jump. He jumped on the wide receiver side with us. Having that dog, like that attitude. D Hall had an edge about him now. Like he was gonna let you know, but he was a hard worker. I mean, he would lay it on the line, and I mean his on the field play. I mean, big play. I mean, D Hall had a lot of big plays from a lot of standpoints with us. So he's one guy, and of course there were a lot of guys. Like you said, you were naming, a ton of guys, but when I think about that guy, and I really feel like it's because we came in together, like, between him and Kevin Jones, like as far as athletes, I haven't seen many guys that were just like this guy's different. Yeah.
Great segue to the next question. So that 2003 year, he strips the ball from Roscoe Parrish.
Yeah.
Bill Roth's now iconic "Give it to me, Roscoe" call. Lane Stadium is just erupting. What a great moment. Earlier in the year, you got Texas A&M and Hurricane Isabel, and it's a sellout, and places going nuts in a hurricane. I remember watching that one.
That's right.
Did you ever play in an opposing stadium with fans and an environment that even remotely compared to Lane Stadium?
No. And I tell all my guys, all the people I come in contact with, we with coaches, you're around other players, and anywhere I go, I talk to people. People are always like, man, how's Lane Stadium? Lane Stadium, it looks crazy. And even now, like we get a lot of respect from like commentators, people talking, oh, it's one of the toughest places to play. I haven't been in a place, and I don't know if it's because of the way the stadium is set up or whatever, but there's not many places, if any. And I haven't been to, Penn State. I haven't been to, Michigan, some of those places. But from the places I've been, nobody can match up with Lane Stadium. Even we went down to College Station, I was a little, I ain't gonna say I was disappointed, but they hyped it up. Oh, the fan, oh, this and that, the 12th man, they got cheer practice. And that was cool. Like the atmosphere was cool, but to me, it was more of a, oh, this is cool. Like they're doing cheer. They got, the fans are, synchronized with the cadets or who the guys that kind of lead them, the cheerleader, whatever they are, that lead them around. But as far as atmosphere, to me, it wasn't Lane Stadium, so Lane Stadium is it for me. They're number one. Tough place to play, Lane Stadium. Anybody want to ask me, it's Lane Stadium. So I'm stuck on that. I ain't changing for the rest of my life. So I'm Lane Stadium. Nobody compares to us.
Especially during that 15-year run, man. That was amazing. All right, Coach, let's segue over to basketball real quickly. Couple questions, and we'll talk about some of your, your new endeavors. And so you played basketball for a little bit. 2003, 2004 season.
Mm-hmm.
And what inspired you to take on that challenge after being so successful at football? And how did that help you kind of, adjust and then prepare for what was to come in the 04 football season?
Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have a plan. After I didn't play my first year, I saw that it was going to be tough to try to win a quarterback spot and even think about trying to do another sport. Excuse me, when I'm not even the starter, the team. Like that was first thing first. So I just pushed basketball pretty much to the side. Like I had no plan after my first year of, hey, down the line I might be able to go out and play basketball. Of course, we played rec ball, in the summers and things like that. But as far as ever thinking about joining the team at Tech, it didn't even cross my mind after my first year. And after my junior year, after our disappointing season, I got a call from Brian Matthews, one of the Hokie great basketball players, and Coach Seth Greenberg had just joined up, and he calls and he says, and me and Brian had talked about it a couple of times. He was like, man, you should come out and play. So he calls me after the bowl game. He's like, hey, man, I think you should come out and try to play. We got a couple of injuries, and I'd already talked to the coach, and he's on board if you want to come try. And so I get a call from Coach Greenberg, and he's like, yeah, Brian, I love your leadership. I think you could be an asset. He's like, I mean, I know you played in high school. I mean, he didn't know. I mean, he couldn't really speak on me much as a basketball player, but he's like, I know you played in high school, and I know you're a great leader. And I talked to Brian, so I mean, I'm sure you would, because they had a bunch of young guys at that time. You had like Xavier Didell, Jamon Gordon, some of the younger guys who were just there. And he said the only one thing. He said the thing is, we need you to be out here tomorrow. And I'd only been home like a week. I said, tomorrow. I said, woo. Now, it sounded great. It sounded great. And I ended up talking to my dad, and I said, Dad, what an opportunity would I ever get, to play? And it might have been a little selfish on my part. And I think that after that season, I mean, to be honest, guys, I didn't know what was going to happen going into the next season. Like, I didn't know if it was going to be a situation like, all right, we're 8-5, we think we're going to move on. Like, this might be the changing of the guard. I didn't know. So kind of selfishly, I was like, this will be fun. This will be fun. So I left the next day, and I went up there, started practicing with the team, and it was really cool. Like, I definitely wasn't in basketball shape. Football shape and basketball shape was totally. The course seemed like it was about 3 football fields long. That's how I felt to me when I was out there running. But I ended up joining with the team during the spring while everybody was gone, during break. And honestly, it was probably the best decision I ever made, because it was probably it was fun. Like, I didn't even expect it to be the way that it was. I didn't really realize how much, I had, missed basketball like that. But when I was out there and had a chance to play, like, it was beyond my expectations. I had no expectations, like a plan. I'm going to be on the team. I get to practice, I'm going to travel. But I was actually getting, to play. So it was, man, if I would have been able to manage football and basketball after playing that year for 4 years, I would have did it without a doubt. Without a doubt, one of the best times I had at my time at Tech. Basketball was awesome. Coach Greenberg, the team, they received me well. It was just an awesome, awesome time.
So you must have had a good sales pitch. How difficult was that conversation? How did you convince Coach Frank Beamer to let his star quarterback, his returning senior quarterback, get on the hardwood?
All right, so the sales pitch. I didn't have one. There wasn't a sales pitch. Like, it. That's how bad the 03 season. Like, there were just a lot of uncertainties and a lot of things up in the air. Like, how do we move forward? It wasn't even thought about yet. So after the season ended, like, things happened so quick with the them asked me to come play basketball. And in my mind, like I just told you guys, like I wasn't sure if I lost my job. I wasn't sure if we're going to the next season was like, hey, you're going to be competing again, and nobody's a one. Like you got to go out here and you got to win it. Like I didn't know where I stood at that point. So there was no sales pitch. It was I'm not.
Did you just do it without asking permission?
That's why I'm not. It was like it was in a way. Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
In a way, yes.
Wow.
And then that's like that kind of tells you like where I stood. Like it wasn't a situation where I was like, hey, Coach Beamer, please. And I love Coach. Don't get me wrong, I love Coach Beamer. Like this is not nothing. I love Coach Beamer. But that's where we were. That 03 season was just it really had a hold on us and had a hold on me. And the opportunity, I really wasn't trying to even hear. That's why I say everything happened so fast. And I said selfish reasons.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do something for me. And I don't know. Some people might have been mad about it, but I had the respect of a lot of people, and I think that's what kind of eased it over. But I missed winter workouts. That year I didn't do winter workouts with the team. The guys on the football team, like they were hyped, like they were, he playing basketball, coming out to see him play, But I really didn't have like a sit down with all the coaches, like, hey, coach, how do you feel about this? And is it okay? Like really, like do you really feel like it's okay? I even think at that point, nobody knew really how to handle the situation. Like that's just kind of what it was. So yeah, that was that's how, in a nutshell, that's how I joined the basketball team. It was a quick thing. Like it wasn't a sales pitch for a week and all that. Like no, it happened really fast, and I just went with it.
Wow. There were results. Basketball led to a championship, and I think that's that was what we needed.
Hey, it took my mind. I mean, it really took my mind off of what it just happened. I think it was a breath of fresh air to kind of just get away for a minute and kind of change speeds a little bit.
Coach, would love to keep going here. I know we're at time. Do you want to keep going for 10 minutes or?
We're good. We're good.
Good.
Okay, cool. We'll go till 10:30 if that's cool.
Okay.
Awesome. So, and that was a good bit there. Rolling into Williamsburg, growing up there, hometown hero. You are a Williamsburg guy. Now you're coaching at William & Mary for Coach London. And you're a local icon there. What is it like coaching at home, coaching in your hometown?
Oh man, this is awesome. Like this is, I never knew exactly how I was going to get into coaching. All my coaches always say, "Hey man, when you're done, you should get into coaching. You should, start coaching." And after I was done playing in 2016, took a break. I was like, I don't want to jump right into being on the hustle and bustle, right away. So started working at the shipyard. 7 years there, and it's kind of like a thing where, I'm still, watching football and doing like that. And I actually started assistant coaching basketball at my alma mater at Bruton, so I was kind of getting a taste, getting a little feel for coaching, but without being 2 feet in, so to speak. And I never ruled coaching out, but it was kind of like a thing. Okay, I need an opportunity where things align. That's kind of like where I was with it. And I said, God has a plan for me to be in coaching. He'll make it all align. And that's why I'm here, right now. So in January, I got a call from Coach London, and talking about things happening fast again, that happened fast as well. So they had a guy leave, they had a position opened up, and things worked out. So after my conversation with Coach London, I was putting my 2 weeks in, in a couple of days. So I just reached the mark of 7 years at the shipyard this January. So, things align right. And, what better place? I always said, hey, well, the perfect place to start would be somewhere close to home where I don't got to get up, move my family, and I got 4 kids and a lovely wife, and I said, I don't want to just get up and have to be moving from place to place and go to California and come back to North Carolina, because we know how the coaching game can be that way. So I said, to get started, that would be awesome in a perfect world, and God showed me favor, in this situation. So here I am in Williamsburg, where it all began, where it all grew up. And the cool thing I tell people is, one of the biggest things I always tell kids when I'm about to speak is, be careful how you treat people. My dad was always big on, hey, don't burn bridges. And, it all goes back to Tech, the thing, how are you going to act in adversity and things like that. And what you show people and how you treat people, because a lot of times, these relationships and the people you run into are the same ones that seen you, back then. And cool thing about it, so Coach London recruited me out of high school, but he was at Boston College at the time. And I always tell guys, if I'd have made a bad impression back then, or, he would have seen that, I wasn't the type of guy that he wanted to recruit then, there would have been no chance that he would say now, hey, let me hire this guy, as a coach. So, it's come full circle, and, God works in mysterious ways. Here we are.
So head into the season, Coach, your first one there, and you're the quarterback's coach. And what are you most excited for this upcoming season at William & Mary?
You said, what am I most excited for?
Yeah.
I told you guys before we started, like everything is moving so fast. Like, this is like everything. It's like being back. It's like that first day on campus, when you get to college and, you're first putting on your pads and you're in the stadium and the atmosphere, like everything that I'm doing, it's like exciting again. Like everything is fresh. I'm looking at it from I'm on the other side now. I mean, as the coach, and my perspective is different. Now I'm thinking back about a lot of things that Coach Rogers said, a lot of the coaches, Coach Steinspring and Coach Beamer, like the way that they interact with the team, the things that they would say, how I would look at them when they would say certain things, what they would tell me, and how some of our players would, talk about them, when things didn't go their way. So, being on the other side, being a player, and now, being a coach, it's like I have a lot of things that are in me, from being a player. But I was a coach's son to begin with. So I watched my dad deal with players. I saw how the grades, affect, and the academics come into play, and guys being eligible, and forming team chemistry, and how you talk to the players. So for me, being a coach, it's like I've always had all these things in me, as far as the leadership goes, to pour into guys that were, playing beside me. Now I have an opportunity to pour into, since I'm coaching quarterback, to not only pour into quarterbacks, to pour into guys on the team, and, to build relationships and the things that I went through as a player. I share my experiences. I know what it feels like to lose tough games, to throw interceptions, to not have great games. I know what it feels like to win big games. So, I've been through a lot of experiences, and I think all those things culminate together, now have been preparing me, for the situation that I am. So when I stepped out on the practice field for the first time, my first day on the job here was our first day of spring ball. So it's kind of like, hey, so I step out there, I got the mindset of, like, all right, I'm in coach mode. Like, I might not know all the plays. Like the quarterbacks know more than me, as far as the playbook goes. But now I just can share the knowledge that I know. I know drills. Hey, I know we can do this. We're just about getting better as I catch up. So, but being out there, I'm just looking around, like they're stretching. I'm just looking at, hey, guys come up by the office. Hey, Coach Randall. That's like mind blowing. Like to hear like Coach Randall. Hey, Coach Randall. I'm on the coach side now. Like, am I old? Like, the young guys, thanks, Coach. Hey, Coach, how you doing? I'm like, wow. Like, it's just a real feeling, but it's a really good feeling. Like, I'm really excited. Like, I'll tell the guys every day. This is kind of like, when you're doing something that you love, you don't even really look at it as work. I was like, man, I can't believe like I got a position with football. Like, it really can't get any better right now. Can't get any better. So I'm excited, guys. Like this is really a really exciting time. And once again, everything's happening fast, like I said. So every day is something new.
Well, Coach, we are very excited to track your progress and root from the sidelines and keep tabs. And I think the Tribe have got a great guy on their staff. So excited to see that, and it's fun seeing Hokies like Davon Morgan and Eddie Whitley and Dyrell Roberts. And, there's a handful of Justin Harper. There's a handful of coaches from, the last 15, 20 years that have gone on. And it's cool to see them coaching in Virginia as well. So we're looking forward to that. But we'll finish off here with a few rapid fire questions. So we'll throw it on you. First thing or word that comes to mind, or first memory that comes to mind from these. All right. Best Beamerism. Most memorable Frank Beamer moment or saying.
Palsy. Come on, Palsy. Come on, Palsy. Reckless abandonment. We're going to reckless abandonment.
I've heard that one. I've heard that one from a few guys. Yes.
Abandonment. Yeah, that was his go-to on this.
Yeah. Let's flip to the hardwood. Seth Greenberg, personality. A lot of personality there. What's your favorite Seth Greenberg story or quote or memory? Quick, like a short one.
Seth Greenberg, I'll probably say, honestly, it'd probably be when he was on ESPN and he shouted me out on ESPN. He gave me a shout out as one of the best leaders he'd ever seen. And I thought that was, I have a lot of respect for Coach Greenberg, but that was, that touched me right there. That touched me. Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Jeff King, he was on the hardwood with you. He was on the gridiron with you. Who did it better, you or Jeff King?
Two different players. Two different players. But look, I respected Jeff for going in with the big men, because the big men in college, they're different. They're different. So respect to Jeff King. Salute Jeff King. Great, one of the best tight ends. Yes, sir.
Who's your favorite NFL quarterback to watch today?
Pat Mahomes. Always finds a way. Yeah. No matter what, he just gets it done. That's it. Just gets it done.
Your favorite spot in Williamsburg for a post-game meal or just hanging out?
I say my new favorite spot is going to be Paul's Deli. Paul's Deli right here at the College of William and Mary. New York Deli is also a beast too. New York Deli and Paul's Deli. And then you got Corey's Chicken Shack. Yeah, it's also a beast. Yeah.
Nice. When you came in, I don't think this was your high school number, but you chose to wear number 3 as a quarterback. Why did you choose number 3?
You want the quick story?
This is rapid fire.
Yeah, so here we go. Rapid fire. So here's rapid fire. They gave 5 to Marcus Vick after my freshman year. So we went to sign up for numbers. I went to sign up. They were like, no, you got to go see Coach Berlin. That number's gone. What? Who got this number? Go see Coach Berlin. Yeah, I already promised Marcus Vick. Marcus not even here yet. Well, okay. That was a whole nother. You wanted the quick answer. I'm gonna leave it right there. That was a quick answer. We'll leave it right there.
Well, you're at top of the list of the best who ever wore number 3. I know Logan Thomas might have something to say there, but you guys are 1 and 1A. But I got you at 1.
Logan Thomas. Yeah, he represented the number well. Shout out to Logan Thomas.
He did. Close it out, Pat.
Coach Bryan Randall, appreciate you joining us today. The last question, and this doesn't need to be rapid fire, but we appreciate you joining the Sons of Saturday this morning. We're so excited to watch you this year at William & Mary. Bryan Randall, what is the best part about being a Hokie?
The best part about being a Hokie is the Hokie network. The people that are involved with Virginia Tech, I never had no idea how supportive and how deep Hokie Nation is. You got to realize I was born in West Virginia, right? So I didn't come when I learned about Virginia Tech, I wasn't a Virginia Tech fan when I came to Virginia. So I had no idea until 99. I really had no following of Virginia Tech. It really wasn't on my mind about the Hokies. Nothing was on my mind about the Hokies. So after becoming a Hokie and then going through life, and now that I'm like, I go in no matter where I go. So now I've been recruiting on the road. This is from playing, arena ball, like going a whole bunch of different places. Hokies are everywhere. Like the network is so strong, so huge. and they always show love. Like, that's one thing I can truly say. Like, they know how to support their team, and our university definitely is one of the best, if not the best, at our alumni. So go Hokies, Hokie for life.
Bryan Randall, you are a gentleman and a scholar and a esteemed leader of Hokie Nation. This is a special pod, and I know a lot of people are going to be excited to tune in here. So appreciate you being generous with your time on this Friday morning. You have a great rest of the summer, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys suit up this fall.
Pat, Rich, I really appreciate it. Hey, this has been an awesome time. It's always good to go down memory lane, man. So I appreciate you guys reaching out to me. It's always good. I know you don't have to, and I know it's cool and all that, but I really do thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach. Pleasure is all ours.
All right,
Take
pleasure.
care.
All right,
bye-bye.
guys. Later.